Russia, the men are suspected of acting as secret agents for the purpose of sabotage, as well as agreeing to commit arson and bring about an explosion. German prosecutors say the alleged plans fit a pattern in which Western officials have accused Russia and its proxies of staging dozens of attacks and other incidents across Europe since the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. The prosecutors add the Ukrainian nationals were also thought to be preparing to carry out attacks on freight transport in Germany. I'm Charles Philip.
Rising heat, a problem for millions in India. Officials working on an action plan from painting roofs and walls white to reflect the sun rays to setting up straw curtains and water sprinklers. Breaking news at townhall.com. The U.S. up to 1,001 confirmed measles cases in the U.S. Texas continues to lead the nation and has spread measles to New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Kansas now. Major League Baseball makes a major announcement about two of the sport's most controversial figures.
Pete Rose and shoeless Joe Jackson were reinstated by Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred on Tuesday, making both eligible for the Sports Hall of Fame after their careers were tarnished by sports gambling scandals. Rose's permanent ban was lifted 8 months after his death and comes a day before the Cincinnati Reds will honor baseball's career hits leader with Pete Rose Night. Manfred announced that he was changing the league's policy of permanent ineligibility, saying bans would expire after death. It appears the earliest Rose or Jackson could be inducted would be in 2028. I'm Kevin Coolbaugh.
More on these stories at townhall.com. I'm John Scott.
The following is an America Matters media production. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of the station or its advertisers, although we think they should. But that's the opinion of America Matters Media.
All right, folks, you certainly know what that theme song means by now. That's right. It's time for another episode of America Matters. I'm your host, Leo Zacky, with Joshua Matriciana, Eddie Floyd, and Shenema Lawson there in the booth. They're making it happen. It is Wednesday, May 14th at 12:05 p.m. So everybody, welcome to America Matters, especially those folks listening there on 93.7 KPGF as well as AM 1060. And all the folks tuned in out there on Radio for America, the Answer Network, the Salem Network, the Kevin Jackson Network, and of course, AUN Television. And a big thank you to everybody on those networks that helps put this broadcast out there and make it all possible for you to get the cool information that we're talking about, the truth, the important things. And also, don't forget, if you want to listen to the show or see the live broadcast, see my ugly mug or Eddie's handsome face, you can always go to America Matters Media's Facebook page or LinkedIn page, or you can go to Rumble or YouTube at Zacky Radio. Go there, subscribe, like, comment. We want to hear from you. Zacky Radio on both of those. And before we jump into anything today, I know my grandmother's listening. It is her 90th birthday today, so I want to wish a very happy 90th birthday to my amazing grandmother, Lillian. I love you very much, Grandma. You're the greatest woman on the planet. Thank you for adopting me and doing everything you've ever done for me. And I want you to have a really wonderful birthday, and I'm looking forward to having the best birthday party for you later this evening. So with all that out of the way, let's jump into some of these topics here, shall we, Josh?
I'm ready for you.
I'm ready for both of you right now. I broke them out for you both so that the two of you could talk about the topics, and all I do is bring them up in the way of a segment. Our first segment is Beneath the Surface, the battle over New England's ocean sanctuary, Leo.
Yeah, well, Josh, what do you know about what's going on with this? Oh, he froze again. Okay, well, I'll start it off then. So, off the coast of New England, about 130 miles southeast of Cape Cod, lies one of the most ecologically unique areas in the Atlantic Ocean. And it's known as the Northeast Canyons and Seamounts Marine National Monument. And this region encompasses nearly 5,000 square miles.
Whoa.
Yeah, deep sea canyons and submerged mountains. And these undersea formations support rich ecosystems of ancient corals, endangered whales, sea turtles, and deep sea fish. You know, they form a habitat like any other place off of U.S. waters. So it was established back in 2016 under President Barack Hussein Obama. The monument was designed to safeguard those rare marine ecosystems from industrial activity, particularly commercial fishing, and it was the first national marine monument in the Atlantic Ocean and part of a broader strategy to preserve the planet's most sensitive oceanic habitats. So in 2020, those protections were reversed by Donald Trump, who reopened the area to commercial fishing as a part of a broader deregulatory agenda. And 1 year later, Joe Biden reinstated the restrictions, reaffirming the monument's protected status. So now, following Trump's return to political power, the protections have once again been lifted, placing the area back in connection and reigniting a national debate over environmental preservation and economic development, the constant conversation.
Wow.
So, I mean, the question is, going to protect all the land? Where can we actually get our food? Where can we actually live? Those are always the questions, right? Because everyone's like, oh, this is going to destroy the environment. Well, I mean, you can't protect everything, right? Should we just stop developing altogether? Or, what do we do here? What do you think, Josh?
Well, to be honest with you, when we're talking about sea life, right? This situation is 5,000 miles of ocean, right? And basically, what's going on is these fishermen who have been fishing in there for maybe generations, all of a sudden they're told you can't fish there anymore. New president comes in and says, well, actually, you can fish there. Another president comes back and says, no, you can't fish there anymore. So first of all, let's just look at that kind of like how politics is getting involved in real life economics. To the fishermen, these aren't wealthy people, right? These are fishermen like Peter and Paul of the Bible.
Right. So I totally get that. I think there's a way to find a balance. Like small independent fishermen that aren't part of a conglomerate fishing organization with massive trawlers going out, go ahead, have a good time, fish. But massive conglomerates, long haulers, fishing trawlers, those ones that troll and just drag net everything. Yeah, maybe no to those.
Well, I mean, what's happened here, especially under what Trump has done, this is going to be championed by the fishing communities. If you're out hunting and all of a sudden the president says you can't hunt here, and you're like, we've been hunting here since my grandparents, or same with fishing, whatever. And once you have that closed off, like, where are you supposed to go? Travel another 5,000 miles farther? It's not like, if you're a fisherman, it's not like you're going to hop in a plane and relocate,
Right. Your whole life, everything that you do, these communities were built on that entire, fishing industry there. So I totally understand that. I think it's kind of like, maybe how they do it with, hunting, where you have tags, certain limits that you can take. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, there's solutions to it. I don't know how much of the ecological impact is actually going to do this. It sounds to me it's more of a political thing than an environmental thing. It just turns out that this one little area has come under the microscope, and Trump thinks, hey, let the fishermen fish.
I agree. I mean, they should be able to fish, but I think we have to find that balance between overfishing and totally abstaining from fishing. So I think there is a happy medium somewhere. Obviously, you don't want to overfish and totally disrupt the ecosystem. Like I totally get that. China has a nasty problem of just raping the seas, but we're not doing that. I don't think that's the case here at this seamount, whatever they call it, Northeast Canyons and Seamounts National Monument. So I think that there is a balance, and I think the fishermen have probably been living well within that environmental balance for a long time. So let them fish, right?
Amen.
Let the men fish. I concur. If it was my vote, I'd vote for that.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break here on America Matters. As we get back, we're going to continue the conversation. We got a lot more things to talk about. I'm Leo Zacky with Eddie Floyd, Joshua Matriciana, and Shannon Lawson. We'll be right back.
Ah, I used to love going for long walks, but my back just doesn't cooperate like it used to.
Same here. But ever since I started a routine with Active Life Integrated Health on Moana Lane, I feel more flexible and in control. You should check them out.
This is Dr. Tom Waldorf. Let's make it happen so you can feel better naturally. To schedule the beginning of your transformation, call 775-842-0065 or visit activelifereno.com online.
At A Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, we've been accomplishing happy feet for over 30 years.
We offer a various range of shoe styles and sizes for both men and women. From all-season shoes and orthotics to work boots and safety shoes, our professional and reliable staff possesses the knowledge to help you find the proper shoes to fit your needs. Hard to fit? Hard to find?
A Proper Fit Footwear is here to give our customers happy feet. We make people aware of potential foot problems as we're sizing their feet, suggesting the right arch support, and guiding them to the proper shoes for their needs.
Stop by A Proper Fit Footwear at 4001 South Virginia Street in the Reno Town Mall today, and allow the owner Mike Jones and our fabulous staff to find the perfect pair of shoes tailored to your specific needs.
A Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, the home of happy feet, where comfort and your feet meet.
In times of market volatility, it can be a good reminder to revisit your financial strategies to make sure they align with your goals. Call 775-674-2222 or visit nvretirementplanners.com. Advisory services are offered through Nevada Retirement Planners, an investment advisor in the state of Nevada. Any insurance products and services are offered through Nevada Senior Advisors. Nevada Retirement Planners are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any government agency. Nevada Retirement Planners does not provide legal or tax advice.
Want to expand your advertising dollar? Sponsor this or any America Matters program by calling 775-827-8900, extension 2. Now back to the show.
All right, folks, we are back. And, welcome back to Zacky Radio, the common sense show here that we're trying to bring you all the answers. So we're going to cut through the chaos. And today we've been diving deep into the oceans, and we're going to talk about soil and food labels and even flesh-eating parasites.
Amen.
Order. So, there's a lot to cover. We just talked about what's going on in the oceans, but I wanted to move on over to talk about something that's rooted in truth. The Sakamoto story and the soil revolution. So, picture this. A farmer in Japan walks into a green tea field, presses a wooden stick into the ground, and it slides in like butter. No resistance. That's what you call living soil right there. And Tsuchichiro Sakamoto doesn't until he doesn't spray, he doesn't fertilize with synthetics, and yet he grows some of the world's highest quality tea. Why? Because he's farming with nature, not against it. His method, the no-till farming, it leaves microbial networks intact, uses local organic waste, fermented compost, fish scraps, and tea cuttings, retains moisture, supports biodiversity, and produces nutrient-dense foods. So while we drown our soil in glyphosate, Sakamoto's treating his like sacred ground. And guess what? His fields are flourishing. How about that?
It works. Yep.
Amazing what happens when you work with the land instead of just petropharmaceutical chemical it up to death. So a man in rural Japan walks into a lush green tea field, bends down, grabs a long wooden stick, and drives it into the earth like it's a warm knife through butter. It's incredible. It's incredible how it all works. I don't know what you're doing messing with my stuff here, Josh. Anyways, in a world addicted to speed chemicals and industrial efficiency, Mr. Sakamoto quietly is leading a revolution from the ground up. So today we're going to talk about why his soil is so strong and what no-till farming really means and what it exposes about our modern food system. So Josh, why don't you tell us about who Mr. Sakamoto is? You're muted. I can't hear you. There he is. Start over.
Sorry about that. And we started this conversation today talking about the ocean, how it's made into a monument there, but it bans all commercial fishing. Now we're talking about the land, and we're giving this use case of Mr. Sakamoto, who really treasures this ancient, this ancient style of farming, which should be adopted probably all throughout the world. Mr. Sakamoto, he's an organic tea farmer, and I got to tell you, I drink tea every single day. There's a huge difference between cheap tea and good tea, and it all comes down to how it's grown. You've heard that that phrase, the fine of all the tea in China or the finest tea in India. Well, it really does make a difference if you're putting synthetic fertilizers in. It not only affects the taste, but it also affects the nutrients, and that goes not just with tea, but every type of thing that comes out of the ground. What you put into it comes out of it, and if we eat it, inadvertently, we're going to be consuming those types of chemicals. I'll be honest with you, I would rather have organic matter, as God intended, whatever, to go into my body as opposed to, glyphosates, synthetic stuff.
I agree. And so he's been doing this in the Shibushi and Kagoshima prefectures in Japan. He's been doing it since the 80s. So, I mean, the guy's been doing it for 40 plus years at least, and he knows what he's doing. And clearly it's working. So he takes that farming philosophy to the next level and believes in a living ecosystem. And he's right. Soil, there is such thing as living soil, microbes and earthworms and, all sorts of stuff that are alive in the soil that cohabitat the place with the plants that we put in the ground. And that's what actually helps the whole thing flourish.
Leo, with your background in raising chickens, you understand the correlation of what you feed your chickens. It has to do with how high of the quality of feed is that you give them.
Well, that's what we did. 100% grade A corn, fed grade 95% grade A corn, and then it was like 4.5% grade A soy, and then the other 0.5% was just other little minerals and stuff like that. But we were the gold standard, highest quality chicken in the country without question.
I think what we're discussing here, it's more of the philosophy behind it. Anyone can have a job, anyone can do the work, but then if you have that philosophy of the land is living, which it is, it should be, and that's nature is alive. Plants are living. If they're not, you've got a problem. But there's a philosophy behind it, and this has to do with like the quality of life. And this is something that I think most politicians are totally disconnected from. They rule because of special interests, how much money goes into their bank account or whatever from whatever groups is giving it. But there's something more to that I don't think most politicians get. And someone like you has, this. It's rooted in you, no pun intended. But you've seen it from the ground up. Again, another pun.
Well, it's true. I mean, look, if you're going to have nutrient-rich food, you're going to have nutrient-rich soil, which means feeding the microbes and not killing them like we're doing here in America with all these chemicals, just killing the bugs, killing the microbes, dumping all these heavy metal particles on there from the chemtrails, all these things that are destroying and degrading the soil quality here. And it's degrading the quality of our food. I mean, if you wonder why when you go to Europe and you eat the food there, it feels good. You can eat more, gain less weight, and you feel healthier. More energy. I mean, it's amazing because there's more nutrients in the food. All this stuff here has been stripped of all its potential. All the GMO crap, it's all terrible. So, yeah, go on, Josh.
This brings up a really interesting question here because, you have not every corporation has people's best interests at heart. In fact, most corporations really kind of rule based on, how much, what our quarters returns are.
It's for the shareholder.
It's for the shareholder. And, this
brings up saying it's about money.
It's about money, but this brings up a really interesting conversation point, which is, where does the government come in when it comes to regulation? And should there be regulation? Like if you have, these greedy corporate farmers who are going up and, scooping up all the family owned farmland and then putting in chemicals into it, does the government at some point take a stand and say, whoa, what are you doing? You're polluting the earth. You're killing the ground.
No. The lobbyists say, shut up and take this check so you stay in power. It's not going to twist it here, Josh. We have a bloated bureaucrat system here with people that are so disengaged from reality and are only obsessed with power. That's what we're dealing with. So we spray glyphosate. They don't. We put synthetic nitrogen into the ground. They don't. They use natural fertilizers like fish guts and foliage, like the clippings from the tea. They do. We use monoculture systems, and they use a wave of horticulture. It's amazing the difference that they can do. So, according to a 2023 UN report, it revealed that over 33% of the planet's soils are degraded. And this has to do with the fact that we're just abusing them with chemicals. Yeah. And a study in Nature showed that microbial biodiversity dropped significantly after tillage and pesticide exposure. Well, I can't imagine where we're using that. What countries are using that? Don't forget, avocados from Mexico that say they're organic are not organic. They're still allowed to use DDT down there and other chemicals that we've outlawed in the United States. And they have different regulations that say what is and isn't organic. So when you buy, also you're funding the cartel because the cartels have taken over the avocado market down there in Mexico. That's a whole nother issue.
Oof.
Whoa.
So don't buy avocados from Mexico. They're not organic and you're funding the cartel. Don't do that. And they're terrorists. So, but at the end of the day, this is all about profits and power and control over the food system and health. And it's not about farming, and because that's not what they're into. And if the soil dies from all the stuff that we're putting in there, we're in big trouble.
Yeah.
So what now, Josh?
Well, from a personal call to action point, us personally, we have things that we can do. From a governmental standpoint, there's things that I think the government could do better. But we have, as a collective, as a voter, we've got more power than you think. The most important thing is first you educate yourself, which is part of you listening to the show. You're getting educated, whether you like it or not. I mean, you got to look into the regenerative agriculture, permaculture, and no-till gardening, which this farmer was doing. Is a really interesting way of doing it, and it's ancient. It's been around for since humans started. Probably one of the oldest form of gardening is no-till. It's not. I mean, what we're seeing here in Japan, it's funny. Like we've seen a lot of kind of really great use cases coming out of Japan when it comes to food and health.
And they also live very long over there. They've got the lowest rate of obesity out of any country on the planet. One of the cleanest societies out there. A lot of respect. High trust society.
Yeah.
I wonder if these things are all somehow interconnected.
Well, one thing that they definitely do is they support their local farmers. And I think that we should do that too. Support local, buy local, California avocados, not Mexico.
Yeah. Hey, and we're still the largest avocado producers in the world here in California. So got to keep that up. But we can't do it if we don't have any water. And we're not going to be able to do it if we keep poisoning the planet, or at least poisoning our soil, that is. And we should hold ourselves to a higher standard because it's not working what we're doing. It's clearly working in Japan, but what we're doing isn't what Japan's doing. So if you want to see change, we have the power to do it. So get out, do what we did back in the day. Start a victory garden. Raise your own crops right there. Teach your kids how to do that. We're seeing this happen even in urban areas here in Los Angeles where people are totally converting their entire properties into their own farms. I'm not saying you need to go to that length to do that, but you could. And it would be really fun and fascinating, and it would save you a ton of money. And believe it or not, there's a lot of good soil out there, especially that we've developed on. So you can also get good soil too, but hey, you can put pots and stuff on the roof. You can get things to hang, pots so you can take up less space. I mean, there's a lot of things. Yeah, exactly. Vertical gardening. There's a lot of things you can do. So,
especially if you have kids, get them
involved.
Growing herbs in the windowsill herbs, great.
Oh yeah, it'll spice up anything you're doing in the kitchen. Extra stuff, nothing like fresh stuff. It's the best.
Amen.
So if you like this, what you're hearing, share this message. Share this episode to someone who thinks, food just comes from the store. Comment truth on our social media page at Zacky Radio, and we'll send you the resources to dig deeper, literally, because this is more than farming. This is the future of food, and you deserve to know the truth. So, what happens when you farm the right way? But the system makes it nearly impossible to stay certified. Well, that's what we're unpacking next. So, stay tuned. I'm Leo Zacky with Eddie Floyd, Joshua Matriciano, and Shannon Lawson. We'll be right back.
At A Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, we've been accomplishing happy feet for over 30 years.
We offer a various range of shoe styles and sizes for both men and women. From all-season shoes and orthotics to work boots and safety shoes, our professional and reliable staff possesses the knowledge to help you find the proper shoes to fit your needs. Hard to fit? Hard to find?
A Proper Fit Footwear is here to give our customers happy feet. We make people aware of potential foot problems as we're sizing their feet, suggesting the right arch support, and guiding them to the proper shoes for their needs.
Stop by A Proper Fit Footwear at 4001 South Virginia Street in the Reno Town Mall today, and allow the owner Mike Jones and our fabulous staff to find the perfect pair of shoes tailored to your specific needs.
A Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, the home of happy feet, where comfort and your feet meet.
We're talking to Victor from Precision Diamonds. Victor, we have talked before about the fact that you started 27 years ago in Park Lane Mall in a little kiosk. You are now in your own building across the street from the convention center. You've had to do something right.
Well, as we like to think that hard work, you like to think that it does pay off, but you get lucky along the way. You worked hard, you pay attention, and you get yourself ready. So hopefully when the right opportunity comes up to buy a beautiful building like we just have, you triple your size, you cut your overhead by half, and now you know that you're more competitive than ever.
Plus, you've had a chance to use all of the things you learned from that little kiosk in Park Lane Mall.
Oh, man, along the way, I'll tell you, as far as writing that lease check every month, boy, there were times that it was really hard to do, so you learn from your landlords, and it was really great feeling to say goodbye to the landlord. This has allowed us to truly become your local jeweler, your personal shopper.
Thank you, Victor. Precision Diamonds, your local jeweler across from the convention center.
Unable to listen to the whole show? A recording of today's program will be available later today. Visit americamatters.us and click on the podcast link. Now back to the show.
All right, folks, we are back with America Matters. I'm Leo Zacky with Eddie Floyd, Joshua Matriciano, and Shannon Lawson. Welcome back. It's Zacky Radio as well. So, folks, we were just talking about what's going on there in Japan and how they can actually have really fantastic quality stuff, and they don't need to use all the poisons that they're throwing into the soil here in America and just degrading our food. But, Eddie, lead us in with this segment.
Yeah, our next segment is the organic fade. Why U.S. farmland is turning away from the label, Leo.
Yeah. Well, you'd think with $63 billion in organic sales, farmers would be racing to get certified. Well, instead, the organic acreage is down 11%.
Wow.
It is. Well, Josh, break it down a little bit for us.
Well, it comes down to this. Certification is it's expensive. You've got fees, you got inspections, admin work. So that's really the crux of the issue. It's expensive to label on it, and that's why you're seeing the decline, because the fees are going up. And even though you might be following all the rules.
Oh, yeah. No, it's crazy expensive. I know how that goes. Even for my product to have that come out there and be organic, it's extremely, extremely expensive.
Right.
And yes, you do pick up more margins, but there are more rules that come with that organic stuff, and those rules become very expensive.
Yeah, it's not just the rules, though. There's a lot of other types of farming that isn't even included in that because it's outdated, like hydroponics, IPM, even some other advanced sustainable measures. That the technology for sustainable farming and organic farming is kind of outpacing the regulations. So even if you put that get the certification and slap that label on there, you might be exceeding it multiple times, and they just haven't been able to put you in a category yet.
Right. And then you got the labor shortages too. It's organic is very labor intensive, and the workforce just isn't there. Doesn't mean we need to open up our borders to have tons of illegals rush in to fill these voids, but many farmers are ditching the label not because of the ethics, but they're just tired of jumping through bureaucratic hoops. And the label doesn't always tell the full story. Some of the cleanest, most ethical food out there doesn't even have a sticker on it. Crazy to think about, but that's the case. So across the United States, fields once certified as organic are beginning to disappear. These aren't cases of land lying fallow or being developed into subdivisions. These farms are still active. They're still growing food, still feeding communities, but they're no longer carrying the USDA's organic seal. And this quiet reversal is happening at a time when the demand for organic food is higher than ever. And in 2021, U.S. consumers spent over $63 billion on organic products.
Wow.
Yet between 2019 and 2021, the amount of certified organic farmland in America declined by nearly 11%. So for many, this contradiction raises an important question. Why are so many farmers turning from organic certification just as the market appears to be thriving? Well,
Catch-22, right? It's something that it causes interest, and we want to find out about it.
Right. So, there's certainly financial barriers and operational costs. And like we mentioned, the certification is not simple or inexpensive. There's a lot of stringent rules that you have to abide by. There's the time delay in it because you have to, for crops, the land has to been proven that you haven't used any herbicides or pesticides for X number of years. And then, because that takes time, and still all the while you're still growing stuff. You're going to have to grow organic style, but you're not able to sell it for the organic markup. So those are very cost prohibitive things because you're doing it in a certain way where you aren't able to get that return. So farmers actually lose money through that process. And then, for folks that are operating small and mid-sized farms, it's very, very expensive, and they might not be able to survive that whole process there. So, those are some of the things that really inhibit people. And, these pressures are compounded by the reality that organic farming is more labor intensive and requires more manual pest control and longer crop rotations and restrictions on certain technologies and inputs that might otherwise increase efficiency, which, look, don't get me wrong. I think we should all have organic stuff. We can do it. We absolutely can do it. We can get it to a point where it's more cost effective. But when you don't have enough water in a place like California, it becomes very, very difficult. And these regulatory rules are, I understand why they're there, but to get to those points, I think it's just really, it's frustrating because let's say a farmer does want to make the switch, and they gotta basically wait 5 years in some cases for their land to be certified organic, even though they're practicing organic farming.
Wow. Yeah, say that again, Leo, because I was never aware of that.
5
So
years?
there's a waiting list?
Well, it's because, let's say you're using herbicides and pesticides, right? Well, you have to prove that land hasn't been treated with those chemicals for anywhere from 2 to 5 years. So,
wow.
And so the whole time you're doing the organic farming, you're not getting the financial compensation for the organic product that you are producing. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it now.
Yeah.
No, that's interesting. It sounds like just more bureaucratic hoops, but on the, if you're going to be a devil's advocate here, obviously you have to set standards, right? You have to set standards.
I agree. I totally agree that there have to be standards, but there should be at least some sort of, if people are willing to make the switch into organic, can you not help them out along the way? There should be a financial incentive for people to want to go over to organic. But, we know the bureaucrats don't want that because, they survive on lobby money
Right.
from Big Pharma. So
it always seems like it just comes down to dollars and cents with a lot of these things. Even against the even against the best interest of the people who are consuming it, the consumers.
But here, even if so, let's say it is more labor intensive and you have to hire more people to do it. Guess what? That's very expensive in places like California. $15 an hour minimum wage, $16.04. It's going up, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's crazy. So you bring on 10 more people at that rate. That's a lot of money. Think about it. $150 an hour. If it's $15 an hour, you bring on 10 more people. It's $150 an hour. They do an 8-hour day. What's that? That's $1,200 a day.
Wow.
A day. How do you offset that? Right?
You spray pesticides on it.
Well, that's
$100 chickens.
That's what people have been doing. But with all this scrutiny, there's been a lot of fraud and scandals that come from it. And in 2018, the organic industry was rocked by a $120 million fraud case involving non-organic grain falsely sold as organic. And the perpetrator, Randy Constant, operated one of the largest known organic fraud schemes in U.S. history. I mean, look, there's always going to be bad people trying to take advantage of these systems, right?
Sure.
Wait a second. Somebody defrauded somebody else? Nah, not in America.
Right?
Yeah.
So, the response was, USDA increased oversight across the industry, introducing stricter rules, and that's what happens. It takes one jerk to ruin the whole thing. Make it harder for everybody. So, the USDA cracked down because they want to, rebuild the trust on what is and what isn't organic. Because, things like that, people start to say, well, what the hell am I paying all this extra money for, right? People don't want to get screwed. Life's already expensive as is. And then, you've got, the stagnant and rigid organic standards. For 2 decades, they haven't, really been able to keep pace with the achievements and the advancements here in sustainability, as you mentioned earlier, Josh. So, farmers using hydroponics or implementing integrated pest management strategies may find their methods aren't recognized under the existing rules, even though they're completely environmentally sound. But, John Bolton of Bolton Farms grows pesticide-free produce using methods like hydroponics and natural pest control with ladybugs. But his approach is at odds with certain certification criteria. And without the updates that reflect the current best practices and technological innovations, many sustainable farmers are left outside of the formal organic system. So,
this is interesting because, growing up on a ranch, we had our own little homestead farms out there. And so I know what the battle is against the bugs. And we never used any chemicals or pesticides like that, but we still get the bugs. So the issue is, how do you get rid of the bugs and still grow the plants? And there are a lot of alternative means. Like he said, ladybugs. Ladybugs are great, man. Ladybugs destroy those little plant eating
Aphids.
creatures.
Yeah, they eat aphids, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I mean, and it's not just ladybugs, but there's a whole world of non-chemical solutions to pest problems. Just spraying on, like, for example, water and like hot pepper. Like, you mix the hot pepper because the bugs don't like that. You spray that on there. Guess what? It's organic. It's natural, and gives a little spice to the food.
Well, you wash it off. You don't want to. I want spicy lettuce.
I'm just saying, I think that instead of having these heavy-handed regulations, and then you have the chemical companies come in and say, "Oh, we'll just spray this chemical on it because we can make a buck off of it."
Yeah.
There's other ways to do it, and we can't be so close-minded that we're saying, "Oh, if you can't spray pesticides on it, then you're going to have crap food." It's like, well, no, not if you think about it in a different way.
I totally agree. But, the other big issue here is not being able to get enough workforce going on. And young people just don't want to enter the farming profession because they've been indoctrinated to think that it's not a cool job. well, I'm here to tell you it is a cool job. It's something that if you actually got into it, you might enjoy it.
Right.
So it's frustrating.
We're seeing kind of an uptick, though. I don't know if you ever go on to sites like Pinterest or something like that, but homesteading is becoming a much bigger thing. Like especially with our generation.
Oh yeah, no, it's becoming a way bigger thing. So people are looking to move out and do for themselves, which is great. We encourage that, but we do got to take our last break here on America Matters and Zacky Radio. So Leo Zacky, Eddie Floyd, Shannon Lawson, and Josh Patriciana. We'll be right back.
Have you been injured in an accident? Trust Adriana Guzman-Freilich at AGF Law, your local personal injury law firm in Reno. At AGF Law, we pride ourselves on being honest, hardworking, and ethical. Let's meet in person to understand your case and fight for your rights. Located near South Virginia and Plum, we're always ready to help. Don't navigate the aftermath of an accident alone. Call Adriana at 775-453-9595 or visit adrianalegal.com. Your recovery is our priority, and we're committed to getting you the justice you deserve.
At A Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, we've been accomplishing happy feet for over 30 years.
We offer a various range of shoe styles and sizes for both men and women. From all-season shoes and orthotics to work boots and safety shoes, our professional and reliable staff possesses the knowledge to help you find the proper shoes to fit your needs. Hard to fit? Hard to find?
A Proper Fit Footwear is here to give our customers happy feet. We make people aware of potential foot problems as we're sizing their feet, suggesting the right arch support, and guiding them to the proper shoes for their needs.
Stop by A Proper Fit Footwear at 4001 South Virginia Street in the Reno Town Mall today, and allow the owner Mike Jones and our fabulous staff to find the perfect pair of shoes tailored to your specific needs.
A Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, the home of happy feet, where comfort and your feet meet.
I used to love going for long walks, but my back just doesn't cooperate like it used to.
Same here. But ever since I started a routine with active life integrated health on Moana Lane, I feel more flexible and in control. You should check them out.
This is Dr. Tom Waldorf. Let's make it happen so you can feel better naturally. To schedule the beginning of your transformation, call 775-842-0065 or visit activelifereno.com online.
Are you shy and don't want to talk on the air? Text us your questions or comments to 775-237-2266. Now back to the show.
All right, folks, we are back with America Matters here on Zacky Radio. I'm Leo Zacky with Eddie Floyd and Josh Patriciana. We got Shannon Lawson there in the booth making it happen. And, well, we're talking about agriculture today. There's a lot of things to discuss. And, there's another issue going on here at the U.S.-Mexico border. Heard of this one?
Yeah.
Screwworms.
Tell us about the screwworms, Leo.
Well, it's a parasite, and it's very dangerous. It's going to basically put us in a lot of trouble if this gets out of hand. Which the fact that it's already showing up, we're figuring out that there's a flesh-eating parasite, which is the screwworm here, and it can affect livestock, so cattle, horses, even wild animals like bison. This is a big issue. This is a very dangerous one that's coming across the border here. So the USDA has decided to take action, urgent action, and as of just 3 days ago, May 11th, all imports of live cattle and horses and bison from Mexico have been suspended.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. So this measure is not merely precautionary. It's a direct attempt to safeguard the U.S. agriculture sector from a pest that feeds on the living tissue of warm-blooded animals, threatening both livestock welfare and the economic stability of the cross-border meat industry. So we're going to talk a little bit about the biological nature of the new world screwworm and the scope of that outbreak that's going on down there in Mexico and the rationale behind the USDA's decision on what comes next for North American agriculture. So, Josh, tell us a little bit about what exactly the screwworm is, the new world screwworm.
Right.
Oh, he's gone. All right, well, I guess I'll do it because he keeps dropping off with the internet. Oh, there he is. Josh, You're back. Good. Can you tell everybody about what exactly the New World screwworm is?
Right. Well, first of all, I'm gonna get all the puns about the name screwworm out of there. I just, gotta center myself. Be mature. Be mature. Be mature. But I'm not. I'm gonna butcher how you do this. The Cochleomia hominivores. I'm pretty sure closest it's gonna get out of my mouth. Hominivores. There we go. That just rolls off the tongue, does it? What a pretty name. It's basically a parasitic fly. Not only does it screw your insides, but it also flies around. I mean,
so what they do is they lay their larvae on animals and infest wounds and or just body openings, so like nasal passages, ears, mouths, obviously the animal's rear end and other openings.
Oh, buddy, this is like nightmare fuel for me. I mean, if you just imagine like a whole bunch of larvae swarming someone's orifice.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And these poor animals really can't do anything about it. So, if it's left untreated, the infestation can lead to serious infections and debilitation, and it can kill them too. And I don't think you want to eat something that's got those nasty things going on in there. So the parasite was eradicated from the U.S. back in 1982 through a large-scale sterile fly program. However, its recent resurgence in Mexico has reignited some serious concerns. So the outbreak in Mexico from the screwworm was first detected in November of 2024.
Whoa.
And despite initial mitigation efforts, the infestation has progressed northward. And it's got confirmed cases including Oaxaca and Veracruz, approaching within 700 miles of the U.S. border. And it's not hard for these pests to get around, especially with humans moving livestock around. And they can just they'll incubate in the animal and they'll hatch and then they'll bust out all alien-like from the movie and go find its next victim, so to speak. I mean, that's really what it is. And so the speed and the scale of the spread has increased, and led to more concern from both Mexican and U.S. agricultural agencies. So the USDA has got an emergency response, 6 months later, because they were hoping the Mexicans would figure it out and get it under control. But you forget that Mexico is a narco state and it's teetering somewhere between third and first world. So I guess it's a second world country, whatever the hell that means. It's a narco state. And so that's why USDA Secretary Brooke Rollins announced a temporary suspension of all live cattle, horses, and bison imports through the U.S.-Mexico border ports. And she labeled the screwworm a national security risk, citing the potential impact on food safety and livestock health, which is rightfully so. And so enforcement is being coordinated by the Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service. It's APHIS. Very familiar with these guys. Worked with them a lot with being a part of the California Poultry Federation, and the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. So the suspension will remain in effect until effective containment measures are demonstrated and verified. So don't hold your breath.
Leo, I got a question here. Since this is something that you've literally experienced in your
not
your
these
life.
not these screwworms, but
not the screwworms, but the issue of having to move meat outside of a country's borders, because you were shipping meat out to
but ours was finished product. They're talking about live animals.
So to compare it to something hypothetical, if you were importing your chickens from Mexico, that's what it would be like.
Yeah, if we were bringing our chickens from Mexico to be processed in America, that would be the big issue here. But we never did that. We did everything in house in California,
of course. So, which brings to kind of the next part of that observation is, okay, so why are we importing animals from these other countries when we could just as easily as raise them and grow them within the border where we don't have this fly problem?
Well, we are, but we have this thing called international trade, and we buy stuff from other countries. That's what we do.
It's true. I wonder if Trump's going to slap a tariff on these fly-infested beef.
Excuse me. They got to bring them across the border alive, really, to make that happen. It's not like you're gonna go get a steak at the market and all of a sudden, like Alien, you're gonna see this little worm burrow out. It's not gonna be like that. That's because they live and feed off of the blood of the animals. So
it just sounds. They live and feed on the blood of the innocent animals. Very.
Is that what I sound like?
No, I was talking like vampire.
Oh, okay. So you're Romanian.
No, that might be it, right? I'm sorry. I'm bringing back to this point where if we had more made in America kind of stuff, like this wouldn't even be an issue. Yeah, it might be an issue, but it'd be kind of marginalized.
We have standards here. I mean, look, there are regulations, there are standards in place that for the right reasons. These all exist for the right reasons.
Yep. But again, like we're looking at how the United States has had a steep decline in the cattle industry. I know that a lot of regulations has been really hurting the cattle industry here. So we're forced, because the consumers are still going to buy their steak. So if we can't grow them in America, we're going to bring them in from Mexico. And then we're like, oh, by the way, all these other countries, they've got a lot of problems we don't have here. I feel like this is kind of a call for the for the people in the United States, maybe not just politicians, but also the self-starter type ranchers being like, hey, there might be an opportunity for us to get a couple more cows or chicken ranches, especially here in California.
Wouldn't it be nice if we actually had government that didn't destroy the ability to be cost effective here in the state? But look, hopefully Mexico is going to get their act together and they'll do what we did and deploy the sterile flies, because scientists have a way of making sterile flies and release them, and then they breed, but they don't breed because they can't reproduce. So they think they breed. That's what these kind of animals do. They live to reproduce and then they die. Right. So hopefully they'll do the right thing, get the sterile flies out there, and it'll wipe them out. So the industry and the political relations here are being boosted by the National Cattlemen's Beef Association that has endorsed the USDA's action, and rightfully so, because we don't want to have these potentially contaminated animals coming into the country. But the Mexican president, Claudia Sheinbaum, criticized the suspension, calling the 15-day halt on beef and cattle exports unfair and harmful to bilateral trade. We'll clean up your act and get your Ms. Sheinbaum, So get it together. Anyways, U.S. officials maintain the decision is based solely on animal health risks and not political leverage for trade war. So I agree. It's the right thing to do. But the economic impact is going to, it's going to impact states like Texas and New Mexico and Arizona, which do rely on cross-border livestock movement. But it's just part of what happens. These are things the industry will adapt and pivot. And hopefully Mexico gets their act together, like I've been saying. So, there could be some longer term effects that for the meat supply chains, but it's just normal. This happens, so I wouldn't get too worked up about it.
It's funny, just to throw this in there. It's kind of funny that the Cattlemen's Association is endorsing the USDA's action here.
Well, it also protects the U.S. farmers. It says, hey, now you have. But because the price is going to go up too, so it benefits farmers, the American ones.
A lot of times they're at odds with each other. It's here though that they're uniting by basically saying, no, we need American meat.
Because if this parasite comes to the U.S. and impacts U.S. farmers, I mean, it takes 3 years from a cow to become steak. So just so you understand, so if you lose that cow 2.5 years in the process, you're out a lot of money.
Yep.
So, anyways. We are unfortunately out of time here on America Matters. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you tune back in, and we'll see all of you tomorrow at noon. Have a great rest of your day. Happy birthday, Grandma.
Happy birthday to Lillian.